Good morning, everybody. This is the right side of campus. Today is Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. I am the big man on campus, getting you ready here for another week in football, college football, NFL. We got some Sun Belt action tonight, your first midweek clash of the year. We'll get into that and more. Welcome in our co-host, Donnie Right Side. Donnie, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Watched a little bit of football last night. A nice relaxing Monday, setting up the week for just, some of these matchups in the NFL, college football. And you watch the Yankees get busted up. The good part about it is you didn't really have to watch too much last night. You could go to bed, maybe watch some reruns on TV or catch up on some shows. You had a blowout in the Monday Night Football game, a blowout in the baseball game. So could have spent some time with the lady friend or just hanging out playing some video games last night. There was no need to watch much of these games.
Welcome in to everyone out there listening. We hope you enjoy the show. We hope you like the show, and we hope you communicate on the show. Get on the chat box if you don't know what's there. If you're new to the show, you can communicate by getting right on that live chat box. Make sure you check it out. Everything at SBR Picks, SBR Odds. They got the forum, all sorts of great sports betting stuff. If you're a sports bettor, a great community of people. Make sure you're checking all the videos out, all the blogs. SBR Picks, Donnie, the unheralded heroes that write blogs and stuff that don't get on the camera every day, stuff like that. Whether you're looking at soccer, NHL, whatever, there are blogs and videos for you. Donnie, what do we have going on in the chat? Why don't you welcome some people in here quickly?
Yeah, it looks like there's what, 2, 3 people in there with us? Carlos, DJ, Nasty, Donald, Mark, and me. So there we go.
Cool. We got a guy from Alaska. That's pretty cool. Alaska's an interesting place. I'd love to go there someday. Awesome stuff. Let's break it down, Donnie. Morning headlines. We'll start out with Khabib Connor news. One more piece of news from this. Um, I saw yesterday, Donnie, that Habib's father commented on things that went on over the weekend, and I got to tell you, listen, I don't think I would worry too much about the Nevada Athletic Commission. I'd worry more about what's going to happen when he goes home, Donnie. The father didn't seem very happy and said that he'll deal with him much more severely than anyone else will. I get the feeling to the father that, and look, um, this is a big slap to him, his family. While you would maybe say that what Habib did was, is just sticking up for himself. Here's the problem, Donnie, that Habib's going to have now. This is more for him now than just the fighting thing. When you're a Muslim, the way he is, you do not fight outside of the ring, and he definitely shamed his family in this. He's going to have some problems when he goes home. As far as the suspension, I saw there was some dinky suspension yesterday handed down. That can't be the only thing handed down here, is it? I was a little
Yeah,
surprised by that.
yeah, no, yeah, a little 10-day suspension. That's like giving the pitcher a 2-game suspension when he pitches every
Sure,
5 days.
sure.
So it's the equivalent of the same thing.
Yeah, but we'll have to see. Khabib, if he comes back with a black eye, we know where he got it from. It was from his own father. His father doesn't seem like I would, he wouldn't be someone I would mess around with. But we'll see what happens with all this as we move on and turn the page from this fight. I'm sure a lot of punishment will come down. Brian Bowen Sr. People might not know who Brian Bowen Sr. is, but Brian Bowen Sr. is a guy that is basically his son was involved with the scandal last year in college basketball. According to people, took money from schools to go there. But now Brian Bowen Sr. Donnie's finding it important that he testify against everybody in college basketball for some reason. We're not sure why. No one's really sure why. He's basically outing everyone for no reason. He's not in trouble. I don't think. I don't think he's going to get arrested. He's just doing this out of the goodness of his heart, I guess. But again, Donnie, this is the same guy that orchestrated all this. He was the one taking the money. He was the one demanding the money. Now, all of a sudden, Brian Bowen wants to have a conscience and tell everybody everybody's business.
Yeah, maybe Brian Bowen does one thing good on this planet, can finally expose the Arizona Wildcats for what they've been for 30 plus years, the complete bagmen on the West Coast. And maybe a little bit of good comes out of this, and that program can be nuked off the face of the earth as a basketball program, and we can move on and get back to the Dukes versus North Carolina's, Jeff.
But again, Donnie, maybe we can try to figure this out. Why is he doing this? I don't understand.
There's
Like
got to be
what?
a motive.
Why?
Yeah, there's got to be an ulterior motive. The only thing I can think of is all this money was promised to him. He delivered his son and didn't get any money for it because of all the corruption charges that came down. That's the only reason. Because women don't talk, men don't talk unless they're scorned or they're embarrassed or they didn't get what was coming to them. Hey, man, look, if you just keep quiet, I'm going to get you a car and a house. Oh, investigation coming down. Yeah, we have no idea who this Brian Bowen Sr. is. Never talked to him in my life. And you know what he says, Jeff? Oh, yeah? Watch this. That's the only reason I can think of. Because if the payment was made and accepted and being done, he wouldn't want any part of the federal government involved in this. I don't know what you're talking about. Arizona, Duke, Louisville. Nobody offered me any type of money, but yet he's got $100,000 in a suitcase in his basement.
Some interesting things are coming out about this. Bowen testified that Christian Dawkins told him University of Arizona would pay 50 grand for his son to play for the Wildcats, with the money coming then through via assistant Joe Pasternak, who Donnie Joe Pasternak's now coach at UC Santa Barbara, so that's obviously hurtful to him. He also testified that Oklahoma State would pay 150 grand plus 8,000 for a car and an undisclosed amount
That's
to
T
buy a
Boone Pickens
home.
money. Look, when you get T Boone Pickens as your main booster at the university, you can throw six figures around left and right to get players. That's just what they do these days, it seems like.
He also said Texas would help him with housing if Brian Bowen Jr. played for that group. He also said Creighton would pay like 100 grand and get him a good job, like a lucrative job, if his son played for the Blue Jays, with the money and assistance coming through the assistant coach. One other comment, he testified that he initially was told that Adidas would pay him 60 to 80 grand to play for the University of Louisville, but that offer increased because a player of a similar caliber, Billy Preston, was given that amount to attend Kansas. Previously in the trial, Fed prosecutors said Preston was promised 90 grand to play for Kansas. Feds did not say he was funding that deal. So look, now you got all sorts of stuff going on here. You got other players, you got coaches involved that are now head coaches in college basketball. Again, Brian Bowen Sr. trying to lay down the law, but again, keep in mind, you know, he was okay with discussing all this. Now it's time to do the right thing. Um, what else do we have here? Drew Brees, Donnie breaks the passing record last night. He beat out Peyton Manning finally. It couldn't happen to a better guy. Always been a Drew Brees guy. A big fan of his. Undersized, didn't matter. It comes out of Purdue. He's terrific there. What a great quarterback Drew Brees has been, Donnie.
No, great quarterback. Great quarterback. Very self-centered, very egotistical, cares about statistics probably more than any quarterback in NFL history, and rightfully so. You have to be motivated to go out there and get those junk yards when your team's getting blown out left and right. You have to be motivated, Jeff. When you hold your team hostage repeatedly every time a contract negotiation comes up, you max out the salary cap
Do
because
you
it's all
do you
about you.
ever do you ever just like say good great job?
No, he's
Can
real.
we
No,
just
no, he's. Look, you don't get that many. Like I said, it's like Kobe Bryant. You have to be a mastermind, sick in the head individual to want stats as bad as some of these players do. But that's the incentive there. He should get all the money he wants. He doesn't give a damn about winning anything. If there was no salary cap in the NFL, or let's just say there was a salary cap of 100 million, but you can spend as much as you wanted on a single player, he would want 99 million and leave $1 million for the rest of the team. He's also the guy during the 2011 lockout that tried to put a clause in there that he was able to get paid more than other people in the union itself, and that one was taken out at the 11th hour. So, look, Drew Brees is a great player, and you know how much the NFL really cares about Drew Brees, knowing that this ridiculous record of just throwing it all over the yard is? A nice little laminated piece of paper that they gave him during the game to shake hands with. How about that as a present, Jeff?
Yeah, look, again, I'm not saying Drew Brees is a terrific MVP, like a Hall of Famer. He is, but he's never won anything. Did he win a Super Bowl, didn't he? Didn't he win a Super
No, he
Bowl?
did win a Super Bowl. No, he's a
Yeah.
really, really good quarterback, but he's also the guys that sort of get under my skin a little bit. Remember a while ago, Jeff, the NBA All-Star game where Kobe Bryant usually tries to win the All-Star MVP when everybody has a good time. Drew Brees is that guy that I really think in the back of his mind goes, I hope we have the shittiest defense on the planet every single year. So I have to throw the entire football game just to keep us in it. And there is if you have Drew Brees as a fantasy quarterback, know this. Most
Donnie,
teams
no
give up in
offense,
the
but
fourth quarter down like 14 points, late in the game. Drew Brees will run that no huddle offense to make sure as long as there's a 0 or a second left on that clock, he wants to get that extra 6 yards. That's why he has the passing title. He's motivated by those statistics, and good for him.
But Donnie,
Worked out well.
all due respect, like you're talking about the defense, like that's his thing. What does he have to do with the defense? He
He
does what
takes
he has
up
to.
more money than
I'm
anybody on the salary cap. That's what he does every single time. He holds them hostage so they can't go out and get good players on defense. That's what he does. That's what he does his whole career.
well, look, he got to do what he's got to do. He's got a family, Donnie. Remember that. I mean, we didn't
No,
hear about
exactly.
that.
But listen. Listen how where I come from though, Jeff. I was a wide receiver, and I loved the fact, Jeff, we were not a good football team in college. Do you know why? Because every fourth quarter,
Right.
I was
I hear you.
getting ridiculous amount of catches in the fourth quarter because we were down 7, 14, or 21 with 6 minutes to go. If I had 5 catches for 55 yards coming into the fourth quarter, Jeff, I ended up with 9 or 10 catches for 110. And I loved it, Jeff. We would be down 41-21 with 2 minutes to go. I'm trying my ass off in the fourth quarter to get me a touchdown because you know what? When I open up the scrapbook and the sports book, damn, look at that. Look at all the catches I had. Look at all you guys got blown out. Good. I'm a wide receiver. I want to catch the football. I would rather be down 21 than up 21 in the fourth quarter so I can just get those junk yardage. Me and Drew Brees have a lot in common that you can
Yeah, but
hate on.
Donnie, this has been your MO with a lot of these guys. I mean, you have the same problem with Russell Westbrook. You say he's not any,
Well,
he's
he's
this and
the biggest
that.
loser on the planet. Yeah, he cares about a triple-double more than anything in life itself. But some guys are motivated by that, though. That's what makes them great, saying, look, I hope I have no good players around me whatsoever because I want mine. And some guys are wired that way, which you can't fault them. Like Westbrook's not going to win anything because he doesn't want to. He would rather have the triple-double than win a title. You say, hey, Westbrook,
Yeah,
you're
Donnie,
never going to get another triple-double again, but you'll win 2 championships. He would say, fuck that. Give me the triple-doubles, man.
yeah. Listen, I get it. I mean, maybe he's been a little greedy, maybe, but look, as far as on the field, he's been possibly one of the best quarterbacks ever. I mean, he's been
No, he
absolutely
is. No, he
terrific.
is. You're right.
I mean,
He's an
and
unbelievable. He has a great coach. He's an unbelievable quarterback. But let's not get it twisted. He loves the fact that that defense is record-breakingly bad every year because all he gets to do is throw. It's the perfect storm for a talented quarterback. Got put in a great spot in a dome, no less. And look how it turned out. He's now the all-time passing leader.
yeah. I mean, look, Donnie, can we ever just get you to comment nicely?
Well, no,
Hey, great
I do
job,
get up.
bro.
Tom Brady's like, I don't have any, like, I hate the New England Patriots, but Tom Brady, like, just wonderment of what he does each time. But when I see guys that are a little bit phony out there saying, I really want to win, but you better pay me so we can't afford anybody else on this football team. I'm going to go to bat for the union. And I say, well, why, Drew Brees? Why did you put a clause in there that allows you to get paid more than anybody else? Oh, I didn't see that in there. Let's take that out. He's a very selfish individual, but sometimes to be the best at your position, you have to be extremely selfish. He's very driven statistically, which isn't a knock. He's got a Super Bowl. He's a great quarterback, but I'm going to knock it half the time. When I see he's the all-time leading passer, it's because he wanted to be the all-time leading passer. That's all.
I mean, look, I'm looking at his contract, Donnie. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of his base salary is $10 million this year.
Yeah, but base salary doesn't mean anything. It's guaranteed money.
Yeah, I'm trying to find what that is, but
Yeah,
I
like you're
don't know.
gonna sign
Either
for,
way,
like, 60 million guaranteed, but you might only have a base salary of 10 million. That's not what it is. But go back and Google it back through his 2010, 2011, 2012 during the lockout years. New Orleans media flatlined him for holding that team hostage repeatedly in there. But again, that's what he does. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's like, dude, pay me like $10 million a year. Let's get some people around me. Let's win some Super Bowls. Drew Brees is like,
it's funny,
pay
Donnie,
me
when you
ton
make
of
it.
money.
When you make a point on the show, it's everybody loves it. I'll tell you what, if this was me saying this, I'd get vilified for weeks on this
Well,
show
no, I
for
support
these
myself
comments.
with facts, though. I said, like you can hate on certain people, but I respect a lot of people out there. Like, I like LeBron James and think he's. I have no
But
reason
Donnie,
to like.
we're not. But the comments weren't about him and they were just about him as what he's done as a quarterback. It's nothing to do with how much money he makes. He's getting paid. That's what everybody does. Everybody's trying to get paid. I mean, it's the same way. I don't think you, Donnie, would. If you were going to get paid and someone else, to keep them around, you would have to take a pay cut. You wouldn't. What are you going to do? You're not going to. Are you going to say, okay, yeah, keep that guy around? I care about him. He pays my bill. You don't pay your bills. You do what you got to do, Donnie. He's got a family.
Yeah, but yeah,
Quarterback.
also, guys, look, LeBron James took less money to go to Miami and win titles. Some guys are about that life. Some guys are about the bottom line. Give me the most money I can. Let me throw for the most money I can, or throw for the most money, or excuse me, throw for the many yards that Drew Brees can get. Some people are wired just differently. Some just want to win. Some want to win, but also have the caveat of saying, well, I better get paid more than anybody else, and I want my statistics. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Eagles obviously have major issues, but it got worse yesterday. Jay Ajayi out for the year. No surprise. Torn ACL, another injury. Now your running backs currently are Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, Josh Adams, and Darren Sproles. Sproles, who is injured himself, may be back this week. But listen, Donnie, I mean, you got to go out and make a move. I mean, I don't know
It's coming.
how, but let's hope so. I don't know who it's going to be. Is it Le'Veon Bell? Is it David Johnson? Is it mate? Are you really going to go back to those Sean McCoy? Well, I mean, you
Man, that
got to
guy's
do
about to be
something here.
suspended any minute there.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to
the
do
one good thing
something
about the
here.
Eagles, though, which keeps you a little bit refreshed, look, and we said it yesterday on the show, the Giants are horrific. The Redskins are horrific. The Cowboys are horrific. So the Eagles are probably going to win this division just by default, and you get a home playoff game, and maybe you get healthy by then. I don't think they should go after Le'Veon Bell, but I love Le'Veon Bell's talent. Would anybody in the NFL want Le'Veon Bell? Yes. But Le'Veon Bell wants to almost get paid like the highest paid wide receiver or quarterback out there for what he's holding on to. And we know from a running back perspective, you take more of a beating. I would rather pay a quarterback. I would rather pay a high-priced wide receiver because they're not going to take the same type of beating that a running back can take throughout the NFL season. David Johnson's good when he got paid a pretty good amount from the Arizona Cardinals this offseason, which would make it really interesting why they would already give up on a young, really dynamic running back that you already paid the bill on for the next few years. David Johnson would fit very well, but I think they're going to go out and go that same MO where they got the Jay Ajayi last year. Maybe they get a wide receiver. I know Devontae Parker's out there. Not to say he's the end-all, be-all, but you could see the Eagles do need a little bit more help at wide receiver at this point. I just don't know if you would go after Le'Veon Bell. I just think he wants too much money for a running back, and that's not necessarily the formula that you're going to win with when Carson Wentz is going to cost you $125, $150 when his contract's up after the season,
According to Twitter, Donnie, David Johnson is not a topic of conversation. But we'll see. Who knows what they'll do? They need to do something though, because this isn't good enough. But hey, what does it matter, Donnie? They don't run the ball anyway. So is it that big of a deal? But you have to go out and get somebody. Wendell Smallwood and these guys aren't lead backs in this league. You got to go out and get a big name, some kind of player, like Donnie mentioned with Jay Ajayi last year. What do we got here? What do we got here? I love seeing this after you all glorified the Eagles this offseason. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we glorify them? They were the Super Bowl champions. I mean, why wouldn't we glorify them, right, Donnie? I mean, that doesn't
Yeah.
seem like a lot of sense.
What's the worst case scenario on the Eagles this year? They win the division and make a run in the playoffs. Ooh, they were a really bad team. The NFC, look, we're going to get the Patriots treatment right now from the NFC East because that's how bad they are. The Jets, the Bills, teams like that. That's what the NFC East is looking at. You have an aging Alex Smith who was just completely embarrassing last night, like you thought he would be, which is why, he ends up out of Kansas City and with the Washington Redskins. You see the offense, the coaching staff for the Dallas Cowboys. It's horrendous. You see Odell Beckham screaming at the top of his lungs now. What was he on? Good behavior for 2 or 3 months, got paid. Now he's back to screaming on the sidelines. And now he taught Sterling Shepard how to beat up trash cans in the middle of the football game. They're a complete mess up there. They're already mutinying on their head coach from what we're seeing. So there's a lot of unsettlement there, which is a good thing because if you had a good football team in the NFC East and the Eagles are 2-3, somebody should be out ahead 4-1 with a good team, but there is no good team. So they're going to be luck of the draw, the Philadelphia Eagles, of how bad the NFC is.
Giants are horrific, but are going to beat the Eagles Thursday.
They might.
Maybe
It's Thursday night. It's
maybe
hard.
it might
They
be right. Yeah, I don't think you're not really going out on a limb there. It's
No, Thursday night football, man. Home team's
Yeah.
supposed to win. Now here's the breaking point, Jeff. You'll see how bad if the Eagles go on the road on Thursday night football and beat the Giants. Again, we talked about it yesterday on our WCKG show, Jeff. Do you, as a Giants fan right now, say, look, we're awful. Our quarterback is awful. But let's keep Eli Manning out there for the season. Go 1-15 and get your quarterback that you need for the future. As a Giants fan, why would you not sign up for that immediately right now? As a Dallas Cowboy fan, the best part about the Dallas Cowboys this year, Jeff, if you're a fan, you better hope Dak Prescott probably stinks, right? Because otherwise he's going to be up for a contract and he's going to want $100 million like every other starting quarterback would want. You're in some weird deficient situations, and all three teams outside of the Eagles Alex Smith is 34, talking about he hasn't reached his potential yet. I couldn't stop laughing for the first 15 minutes of the Monday Night Football game when I heard that comment last night. The NFC East, outside of the Eagles, quarterback-wise, is an absolute mess. And we all know, Jeff, in the NFL, you ain't got a quarterback, man. You ain't winning jack out there.
But here's the elephant in the room. The problem here, if you're the Giants, you ruined that opportunity. I mean, you could go out and get a quarterback. You can go out and get your Justin Herbert this coming draft or someone like that. But the quarterback class coming out is not great. I mean, there's not a lot of great
Somebody
quarterback.
always emerges. Somebody always
Maybe,
emerges
yeah,
because nobody
okay,
really was talking about Jared Goff coming out. You're like, oh, okay, during the season, and then
maybe.
Wentz comes out of nowhere at the Senior Bowl, and now you think he's going to be a decent quarterback. That always reemerges, but you might actually be getting lightning in a bottle, the same way that you thought you might have got it with the Cowboys, where Tony Romo gets hurt and you end up with not Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, right away at the top. You might get lucky. You had the number 2 pick in the draft last year. You could turn around and parlay that into the number 1 pick, and now you got stud running back, young quarterback to grow in the NFL. I mean, that's pretty key type of stuff.
I mean,
if I'm a Giants fan, like we rooted for the Sixers, you should root for the Giants not to win a single football game the rest of the year if you're a real Giants fan.
I mean, look, again, let me make the point. All I'm saying is last year was the time. There were many quarterbacks up the top. You could have made that move. Look, at the end of the day, you don't have an offensive line, so Ezekiel or Barkley isn't particularly effective. He's had his stretches, but look, you need a quarterback. It's more important. You also have like Drew Lock and people like that you can look for. But this is a quarterback draft where if you wanted one, you should have got one last year, and they didn't do that. So yeah, we'll see what the Eagles do. Who knows what will happen? But they need to go out and do something. Giants will be in a good spot
and
against.
it's actually a good time too, Jeff, because you're looking at the Eagles coming off a Thursday night football game. That's when you make the move. Either you're coming off a bye week or you have like 10 days so you can get that guy in, let him learn the playbook. I think the Eagles will be pretty active. How big of a move? I don't know if it would make a lot of sense at this point. Maybe just wait till the offseason and say, you know what? NFC stinks. Let's just see if we can win the division and see what happens in the playoffs. But we all know how he likes to mix, maneuver, and make some moves. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think the Giants are in a good spot against the Eagles. All right.
Everybody's in a good spot home
yeah,
from Thursday. Everybody.
Right. Uh, what else do we got here? Let's move on to Monday Night Football last night. Obviously, we talked about it. The big weekend, Drew Brees had a big night. I was all about him. 43-19, though, was the final, and the Saints rolled in this one. Over comes in. That hit in the third quarter. And it hit Donnie on the big Alex Smith interception return. Awful throw. They get down to the 5-yard line and punch it in. I think 2 plays later. This was an easy win for the Saints. It was decided very early. They went up 26-13 at halftime, but we're still. You kind of felt like they were in total control. They ended up pulling away 14-0 third quarter. Nice win for the Saints. And again, I mean, a bad loss not a bad loss, but a loss that this keeps happening to the NFC East. A bad division right now. Drew Brees, a big night, 26 for 29, 363 yards. Impressive stuff. Shout out to Mark Ingram, Donnie, who comes back and takes 2 touchdowns away from Alvin Kamara, and Taysom Hill has a touchdown as well. Look, if you had Alvin Kamara last night in your fantasy stuff and you needed a big night, you got to feel pretty sick to your stomach after that performance. Also,
it's better for
fantasy owners,
better for them though with Alvin Kamara. Yeah, go ahead.
Fantasy owners also got killed, Donnie. Michael Thomas, he didn't have a touchdown or anything either. Those touchdowns went to Josh Hill and 2 to Traquan Smith. So, look, if you had a fantasy night last night with the New Orleans Saints and you had everyone other than Drew Brees, you didn't win your league last night. Guaranteed.
No, yeah, that's Drew Brees, Jeff. You don't think he knows that? Like, I'm not letting these guys get their shine in fantasy. It's all about me. I'm going to throw touchdown passes to unheralded guys so I can shine. How about that?
Yeah, another I mean, again, Donnie. I mean, you gotta. I mean, is this jealousy? I don't know what it is.
Jeff, hold on. It was Drew Brees' night. Drew Brees knew that was his night all the way around, and he was going to shine the brightest.
I didn't see him mad when they threw Taysom Hill in on that quarterback sneak. He don't care, bro.
By the way, it's a great point, and I love it. I love the fact that Drew Brees doesn't mind Taysom Hill coming in the football game because you remember all those years in Philadelphia. with Michael Vick backing up Donovan McNabb, and they were throwing a wildcat package, and McNabb will be absolutely furious that somebody else was getting in the football game. Dude, that kid helps your offense move. And that's why I love Sean Payton as a head coach. Innovator, man. Very few innovators in the NFL that can get away with stuff like that. He's one of them.
Someone's asking what happened to the Redskins defense. Well, I don't know if they were ever very good to begin with. I mean, they played the Cardinals and Colts. They gave up 6 to the Cardinals. Let's remember this. But then they gave up 21 to the Colts and lose that game. They were decent against the Packers, but we know the Packers right now on the road aren't very good.
And you got no help, Jeff. You got no help whatsoever from the refs in the like. I didn't even have any money on the game. I actually thought the Redskins would cover the 6.5, or at least play well enough to stay close. But it was pretty apparent in the first quarter where they didn't give a damn how well the New Orleans offensive line held anybody out there in any situation and kept calling defensive penalties. We've been on that side, right, Jeff? We have money on one team. It's just like, dude, I can't even catch. I'm not even asking for a break from the referees. I'm not asking for a blown call. I'm just asking you to make the correct call that's egregious at the point of contact. They were just laughing at the Redskins defensive line. That was a shame, man. If you were a Skins fan or had the Skins on a ticket last night, you could have just shut the game off in the first quarter and saved yourself a lot of aggravation.
Ingram back in a big way. We mentioned his success last night. It's nice to have
That's
those
good
two
for
in the
Alvin
backfield.
Kamara, though, Jeff. Ingram coming back there, because you can't get 20 to 25 touches a game for Alvin Kamara. He's better at that 15 to 20 range and can be really explosive. It was actually, I mean, look, I don't like the New Orleans Saints. I could care less about them. But if you're a Saints fan, it was good to see Ingram come back, because now you have that power threat to go along with Alvin Kamara. Tough offense, man. Tough offense to stop.
We'll move on to MLB. We do have obviously football on Thursday, where we'll get into some Eagles Giants. We'll also throughout the week talk more NFL as well. Week 6 coming up in that league, so we're excited about that. Let's move on to some baseball talk here. Last night, look, the Yankees lost, but again, you know what? It's just a loss. It doesn't matter if it's by 15 runs or 1 run. It was still a loss. Look, they didn't play well. It really started beginning with Severino and the booted ball that scored the first run. It just went downhill from there. Feeble plate attempts by the Yankees. It was ugly, and that's, I think, probably the nail in the coffin. And look, Donnie, I mean, this is kind of for me where, look, all year, if you go back to beginning of the season, I thought Boston would win this division. I thought they were the better team. They have a better, the lineup's just a little bit more strong to me. They just have a better feel to them. Their bullpen's not the best in the league, but it's good. The Yankees, just a lot of strikeouts, a lot of feeble plate attempts. They gotta win tonight, obviously, or it's over. And that's going to be just sweet, Donnie, if you don't win tonight and Boston gets to celebrate in the Bronx in front of all the fans. Look, I haven't seen a lot of bad behavior in the MLB for a while. This rivalry has dissipated a bit, but I got to tell you, I think if you see I think if Boston wins tonight, you might see some bad scenes, let's say, coming. I saw some last night. I mean, going around Twitter. This rivalry started again, and I think people, if they win this game by a decent amount, I don't think it's going to be too good up there tonight. People hate the Red Sox, and having them celebrate on this field wouldn't be good. But who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll get into the breakdown quickly, though. Dodgers also dispatch the Braves. I don't think neither of us are surprised by that, Donnie. Are you? I mean, I think we were all kind of aware that maybe Atlanta would win a game. It wouldn't be more than that, though. And Houston beats Cleveland. Cleveland had a lead, though, in the game. Houston comes back and takes advantage. There's one series left, Donnie. It's tonight. Can Boston extend it? You'd have to think, though, Donnie, from a baseball standpoint, you got to have at least one series go deep, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think Angel Hernandez is behind the plate, so all hell can break loose both ways on strike calls and stuff like that. So it should be a lot more fun tonight after the night he had last night. Thank goodness it actually didn't matter in like a close situation where he's blowing calls left and right. At least he was blowing them in a blowout type of scenario. But then again, Jeff, on balls and strikes, there is no instant replay that you can go back and correct a ridiculous wrong. So that should be a lot of fun. But let me ask you this as a Yankee fan, Jeff. Yankees are this is a shame where I wish we had, George Steinbrenner still around. Because this is one of those series that if the Yankees go down tonight to the Boston Red Sox, George Steinbrenner would pick up the phone and tell Brian Cashman, I want Bryce Harper and I want Manny Machado, and I want the top pitcher out there on the market, and then hang up the phone and make it happen. But, the new younger Steinbrenners, will hold the water here. We'll be back next year. We'll do this and that. I just wish you had that old fiery George Steinbrenner. Didn't give a damn what the bottom line was for the Yankees. If he would lose to the Boston Red Sox, he would pay an additional $100 million tax just to make sure it didn't happen again. We'll see what happens. But I want to get back to the original question. As a Yankees fan, I don't think they're going to be ready to win the World Series, even if they beat Boston, because, the Astros are on deck, and then you're going to get another team from the NL. From a fan perspective, is it better to lose embarrassingly at home 2 games in a row, drop out, and then force your ownership to, heed the pressure of the public that says, you better not let this happen again. We can't come back with Sonny Gray and, Severino and Tanaka with one arm thrown with, half an elbow.
Look, at the end of the day, I don't think any Yankee fan thought this team would win the World Series. They're still very young. There's still a lot of young players on this team. The rotation was lacking. That was obviously, to me, the big concern going into the season, because you look up at Boston, you have Chris Sale, you have David Price, you have 2 guys up at the, and maybe you don't really regard David Price as a top flight pitcher, but the Yankees don't have a Chris Sale. They just don't. They might think they do with Severino, but he's not Chris Sale. Yeah, listen, I didn't think they were going to win anyway, so I just don't want to see them get blown out 16-1. That's what I don't want to see. Do I think they're going to go after Harper, Machado? No, I don't think this new ownership is built like that. Cashman doesn't really do anything like that. Do I think they need to go out and improve a little bit? Yeah, I mean, Greg Bird has failed. I mean, is Luke Voigt your first baseman going forward? What are you going to do with Giancarlo Stanton? I mean, seriously. I didn't like the contract to begin with. I don't think it made a whole lot of sense. And it didn't really fit what you're trying to do going forward. You have some older play. You have Jacoby Ellsbury. You're still paying a ton of money to. I mean, Donnie, imagine being him. What a great fucking career. You haven't played for a year or 2, and you're just collecting a ton of money, just sit around. You got to get the pitching rotation straight, because they made a bad mistake not going out and getting a top flight pitcher. You should have did it. You didn't do it. For some reason, you thought this was good enough. And you're right. If old George was still here, this wouldn't have happened. You would have got a Jacob deGrom. You would have went out and got something. Lance Lynn and Sonny Gray weren't enough. J Happ. I mean, J Happ.
Jeff, you have a chance there. What happens if you revisit and you have a chance to right that wrong? It's the off season, and you say, you know what? Gleyber Torres and Andujar for Jacob deGrom next year, right off the bat. And then, but look, Jeff, you get rid of those 2, and then you sign Bryce Harper behind it. So you pick up deGrom and Harper and lose Andujar and Gleyber Torres. You don't do that? Oh, love. Are you kidding me? Man.
No, because I think for me, I don't want Bryce Harper. I don't like him. I've made that clear. I think he's an overrated player.
He would mash in that tiny ballpark, though, to right field. He would mash.
Yeah, look, I hear you. I'm not going to disagree, but he also would, this team needs to win in the playoffs. And he has.
Yeah, deGrom would solve that, though, man. You pick up Jacob deGrom next year to have a hammer out there.
Here's the thing, though. If you give up Andujar and hit Gleyber, what does this lineup look like then? I mean, you have Aaron Judge. Great, you
still have all the big boppers in there. I mean, you're missing? Like Bryce Harper in the Bronx will hit 45 to 50 home runs next year. Like, that's an improvement over those guys in the lineup hitting wise.
Listen, I want to know where Ronald Torreyes is. Where's Torreyes? Ronald Torreyes
probably riding a horse somewhere, right?
He should be in this lineup. He's a solid player. I don't know what's going on. Where's Ronald Torreyes? We'll see. Just give us at least one more game tonight. And a good point about Hernandez. That should be interesting tonight. Possibly one of the worst umps in the league.
Look, if you guys don't know Angel Hernandez, which you should by now, he's the same guy that claims there's a racial bias in Major League Baseball because he's Cuban or Latino, and that's why he doesn't get improved or moved up or be like, captain of his crew or whatever. It's like you're like he's in the mob or whatever it is. It makes me laugh at that. Like everybody says it. Black, Latino, white, green, gray, brown in Major League Baseball, that he is the worst umpire. But yet he says Major League Baseball is the one holding him back. And then he goes on display for everybody to see last night. And now he's behind the plate. That's wonderful theater. I'm tuning in for this game, Jeff, just to see that 3-2 count where the ball damn near misses the plate by 2 feet and he rings a guy up. I'm here for the popcorn tonight, man. I can't wait.
I mean, if you want a series extended, it's the exact person you want behind the plate. It's funny, though, Laz Diaz, Donnie, he's a Cuban as well. I don't ever remember him. I don't know. I've never seen him be disgraced or anything. Donnie. I mean, Angel Hernandez is weird, weird guy. So what do you think? You think it's going to be some shenanigans tonight in this one?
It has to be. When has he ever had a clean game?
Yeah.
It's impossible. The hardest thing to do in Major League Baseball, Jeff, is call the game from behind the plate. The easy ones are you're the first base ump or the third base ump, and you're calling fair, foul, in a close play. You can always be backed up by replay. So if you're wrong, the challenge comes in, they get it right, nobody really gets mad at it. But there's no challenge behind the plate, which makes it great.
Yankees minus 119, total 9. Rick Porcello against CC Sabathia. Quite the matchup here, what Donnie, pitching wise. Two old. I mean, this looks like a matchup from 2011, Donnie. CC and Rick Porcello. Um, Donnie, here's an interesting stat. The Yankees this year, 19-5 on a Tuesday, up 10 units on the season. How about that? That's interesting.
Up on a Tuesday, man.
People,
Who was the good Tuesday team? Was it the LA Angels you kept bringing up for a while?
yeah, there's been a couple. Again, it's really just having fun. That doesn't mean much. Here's the thing with Boston. They're good really everywhere. They hit lefties well. I mean, listen, we're not going to break these games down from a stat perspective. We know about what these teams are all about. Look, I said I liked the Yankees last night. I said I liked them in the run line. That obviously didn't come in. I thought we'd see a better effort. I mean, the Yankees are up against it here. Question is, can CC give you a couple innings? I mean, he's been pretty good at that this season, giving you 4 or 5 innings. You look at his last couple starts though against the Red Sox, not great. I mean, he hasn't had a great career numbers against them. A lot of people know CC. They've hit him before. I don't know. I think it's a major toss up. I think you get something better out of the Yankees. Did the Red Sox use up all their runs last night? Rick Porcello is not exactly a guy I'm in love or enthralled with, but Yankees are going to obviously throw the deck at this one. You got to win. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
gonna,
I think Brad's right in the chat box. 4.5 hours over under on this one. This is going to be an extremely long game, Jeff. And I'm getting from my sources here, Jeff. Now, quote it. This is my sources telling me this, that Major League Baseball will not allow the K zone to be on the TV screen tonight since Angel Hernandez is behind the plate. How about that?
I'll miss it. Can't. What am I going to do without that? Um, are you going to give us a pick, Donnie? Or are you going to talk about K zone? What do you got?
Yeah, I've watched about 6 pitches since early September, so we're going to go and take the dog again today, Jeff. We'll go plus 108 at Bet Online with Boston to close this one out.
Yeah, again, I get SBR needs baseball breakdowns, but I don't know what we do with these games. It's just like okay. I mean, I guess either side makes sense.
I'll watch it. Like tonight's
It's
one of those nights, Jeff, where I probably will tune in and watch it because I'm interested. I want to watch and see what happens behind the plate. And it's an elimination game. Aren't they more fun to watch elimination games, especially between these two? You do have a Tuesday night football game which you're going to go over, but let's not get it twisted. It's not Vince Young in Texas versus Matt Leinart in USC tonight on a Tuesday night. We're talking about the Fun Belt. So we'll be in tune in that one. But I am actually interested to tune into this Yankees game tonight.
Appalachian State and Arkansas State, little Fun Belt action. This game is a meaningful game, Donnie. People might not know that. Yes, the college football ranks do play on Tuesday once in a while. And it starts tonight, a good one down in the Sun Belt, 101, 102. App State laying 10, total 59.5. Now, Donnie, look, I said it on yesterday's student section show, and I'm going to say it on this show. To me, App State's the play here. I think they have to be the play if you like a side. Donnie, keep in mind, you look, and I've referenced these before. There's a couple of these places that put out top 10 wager lists. You know what's up at the top, Donnie? Arkansas State. People love them tonight. They're at home, getting double digits against a team that they generally play well against, and generally it's kind of the second command in the Sun Belt. How's this game not going to be within 10 points? Ark State has Justice Hansen, and we have a good coach, and App State is good, but they're not gonna. It's a road game. Listen, here's all you need to know about App State. They run the football effectively. Their quarterback's really good. And Arkansas State, Donnie, can't stop the run. They're one of the worst run defenses in the country, giving up almost 6 yards a carry. The last 2 games, giving up 658 yards on the ground. This team cannot stop the run. And when you're facing a team like App State who loves to run, they're actually a pretty solid defensive team at times. I'm going with the favorite here. I think they beat Arkansas State here. I think they win by two touchdowns plus.
You know, it's interesting when you look at the numbers too, because sometimes some of the numbers lie to you, right? When you're looking at, can you stop the run or not stop the run? If you play teams like, Navy, Air Force, Georgia Southern, which they played, you say, you know what? They're going to rack up 350, 400 rushing yards because they're not going to pass, and that's all they do. But sometimes you have to see what teams like to do and execute, because when you're talking about read option teams, that is exactly what App State can do. They have a downhill runner with speed and also a quarterback that might be just as fast, Jeff, as a wide receiver. Now you say, well, Georgia Southern, they run a little bit, so they should, they're always going to rack up yards. Or you got to take the Alabama game out. The game, Jeff, you want to look at? UNLV, the quintessential read option team, Jeff. 310 yards on the ground, 6.3 yards per carry. Not a triple option, not a all ground attack team. They just come at you with read option and make it happen. Those are the games that you have to watch out for. So if you're interested in taking the dog, hey, I want 10 points at home. I've watched Arkansas State in the past. They're a pretty good football team. I hear all that. But when you have something that one team can do to you that you can't stop, and that's what App State does, that's where you're in trouble here. Because if you're asking, Arkansas State to rise up and play defense and hold, Appalachian State to 125 yards on the ground, that's not happening in this game because they do exactly what you can't stop, and that's the problem here.
You're totally right. They've also, Donnie, App State covered all 4 games this year against the spread. Yeah, they have a nice mixture of solid wins. They have that one loss to Penn State. Let's be honest, I could have won that game. It was in Happy Valley too. They beat up on some bad teams as well. And by beating up on them, Donnie, I mean they beat up on them. They haven't allowed more than 10 points in their last 3 games. Really just dominating teams. And look,
Yeah, that's
if
it.
you want to run
Go ahead. No, I'll let you. Let me get this one point out here quick too, because a lot of those numbers are skewed. Because you do realize, like Penn State is one of the, an offensive machine that put up some decent numbers. But even when you look at that game, Jeff, 204 on the ground, 230 in the air. That's not that bad, and you arguably should have beat Penn State in Happy Valley. Go ahead, man. You're right. You're right.
No, you're dead on the money. I mean, the run defense for App State is potent. They haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher other than Penn State. You take out the Penn State game, this is a top 5 defense in the country. I mean, they are very good. Arkansas State's potent. I'm not going to lie, but this Arkansas State team's been disappointing. I thought we'd see more out of this group. And look, Donnie, tonight's the night for them. They could, this could be a game where they can kind of seize momentum and say, look, we haven't played particularly great. We lost our last game. We have played Alabama. We played Tulsa. We played some teams that are maybe, obviously better than we are. Now we can right the ship at home, but the rush defense is a concern. I mean, it just is. You're giving up 244 rushing yards a game. I don't think anyone would be surprised here if App State runs for over 300. I don't think that's out of the
Look at
question.
that. I mean, Gardner-Webb, Charlotte's not the best team, but Charlotte does have a couple decent running backs. South Alabama, not the greatest team, but they do have some talent. 95 yards on the ground, 34 yards on the ground, 83. Like, Jeff, you get 83 yards on the ground in college football just by default. I mean, you even saw the Clemson game where Clemson was holding Wake Forest to negative yards in the first half. But eventually you bust a run for 40 or 50 yards to put you back in the positive. 2.4 yards per carry, 1.3 yards per carry, 2.7 yards per carry. That is outstanding defense, man.
Agreed. As far as the total, people are asking about that. I think App State's going to score a lot of points. I don't know about Ark State though. I have a feeling App State's defense stands up here. They're pretty good. I'm not really sure on the total. I like the side though for sure. I could see maybe I don't know, 34.
Great,
20.
and the best part of it, they have one of the best punt returners in the conference, if not the country. You have Thomas at quarterback, Moore at running back. They hit you at all 3 levels on offense, which is always what you want to look for. Because how many times you come into a game, Jeff, saying, "Ooh, I always like to go back to Illinois. Can Illinois throw the football a little bit because we know we can run it?" When you have an offensive machine that hits you at every level, I can pass, I can run as a quarterback, I can be mobile, and I have a dominant running back. And then you stack it up with a defense, it's hard to overcome there. And there's the reason why this line opened up at 8.5 and is now looking at 10.5. That's a really good football team, App State.
Amen. Donnie, let's play a little buy or sell. What do you think? What do you got?
Let's go. Let me see what comes up. Let's slide this down right here. I'll just pick it right off my screen for us so we can get after there. Buy or sell? A couple quick ones here, Jeff. And we always like to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles here. Buy or sell? The Eagles win the NFC East as your first question here.
I, I buy because I don't really. I look at the rest of the division and I still think they're the best team. I think they have some concerns they need to fix. You obviously got to go out and get a running back. I think there's some fixable problems in this team. I don't think what we're seeing from Johnson and Peters is indicative of the players that they are. I think we know they aren't. I think the pass rush starts to get there. But I'll tell you what. I mean, you're missing. Nada was injured last week. You had some Derek
in
Barnett
practice. These old guys, Jeff, get come on. You have Nada getting
Donnie,
injured in practice. You have Sproles getting injured in practice. What's up with these old timers, man?
Here's the problem that you have with Eagles. And I was watching. I don't know who it was yesterday. Someone made a good point about this, and I think maybe you know where I'm going here. But I think the Eagles. We can commend Howie Roseman. He's been terrific. But there's been a lot of moves made where you look at them and say, I like that move, but it's clearly only for the next year or two because you have a lot of old players in this team. You do. I mean, Mike Wallace and Jason Peters and defensively Haloti Nada and Timmy Jernigan and all these guys that are seemingly a little past their prime. Where are the young guys on this team? Some of the young guys haven't necessarily performed. Chris Long's an older guy. You're getting good seasons out of them. Darren Sproles, but it's only for short periods of time. Stefan Wisniewski, another one. A lot of old signings on this team. You look at the young guys. Where's the young talent? Do you have a great young running back? Maybe in Clement. Nelson Aguilar's been good, but not great. You need all this stuff to start to come together. And last year it did. You would have won yesterday or the other day, last year's team. This isn't that team. I think on principle they will just because the rest of the division is really poor. But, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, I buy that.
Next up here, Jeff. Here's a good one for you. I think you'd like this one. Alabama scores 40 or more in every single game right through the national championship game this year.
I'll buy that. I mean, look, I think we have to put in perspective how good on offense they are. I mean, they've scored 50 or more in I think every game but one. The only one was the Texas A&M game where they scored 45. This team scored 60 or more twice and was against two SEC opponents. They have 124 first quarter points, Donnie. That's more than like 26 other teams in the country the whole year. I mean, they blow you out and they don't really let you come back. The game's over at halftime. They have the highest offensive efficiency ever, Donnie, in 14 years of keeping that stat. No one's eclipsed that. Tua's ridiculously accurate. They've playmakers everywhere. I'm going to buy that for sure.
And the last one, Jeff, we're going to talk about the Houston Texans now up off the – I think they still look like crap out there the way they play. But now back up off the mat, getting a couple wins under their belt. The Houston Texans, not even looking at maybe the division, which, they're right in it. Tennessee 3-2, Jacksonville 3-2, they're 2-3. Can Houston get to the playoffs this year, buy or sell?
I'm going to sell that just because I look at the rest. I mean, I don't think they're going to win the division. The Titans look like a better team than they are. You still have the Jags, obviously, as well. And then the next, obviously, big thing was can we win the wild card? Obviously, I think the Chargers are probably a better team than they are. Broncos are pretty solid. You're going to have a log jam in the AFC North. You have some solid teams there. So whoever wins, that group's going to be obviously in the playoffs, but you would expect the other team to maybe get in as well. I'm going to say no. I think, unfortunately, they've dug a hole too deep. The coach isn't obviously the brightest light in the shed. And, look, the quarterback play has been inconsistent. Is Deshaun Watson hurt? He looked a little hobbled the other night. I'm going to say no. I sell that.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at the AFC as a whole, I mean, the AFC East, the leader's 3-2. AFC North, Cincinnati is 4-1, but we know Cincinnati's MO. They're going to come back down to earth. Tennessee, Jacksonville, only 3-2 in your own division. Kansas City 5-0 looks like legitimate contenders here for maybe an AFC crown. But then you look at the AFC West behind that, Jeff. Chargers 3-2, no home field advantage. Denver struggling. Oakland stinks. So there's going to be a lot of teams jockeying for position. The only thing I don't like. We're waiting on Houston, aren't we? Like, we're saying, like, how do you have all these weapons and you can't get it done? Like, if it's built in the NFL where I have a dominant wideout, a quarterback that has shown in the past or, flashes throughout college and in the NFL that he can be an accessible quarterback. He can move the football, and they can score points on offense. And, oh, yeah, you have one of the better D-lines in football to get some pressure with a decent linebacking core and secondary. And every time you watch them play, Jeff, it just seems like a calamity of errors. Like they're not being coached properly, and nothing comes easy to them. That's what I would worry about if I was a Houston Texans backer at this point.
I think you're dead on the money. And again, I mean, Bill O'Brien's not exactly a guy I want as my coach either. When I have to lead leaders into the playoffs, I'm good on that. Donnie, before we wrap it up today, I wanted to bring something up to you. You mentioned last night, you were, whether you're playing video games or whatever you were doing. I was
Mhm.
watching this video on YouTube about, I find like other cultures interesting. I've talked about that before, but I found this video about this place in Siberia, Donnie, this like 60 Minutes guy went to. It's like the coldest place on earth, like as far as the inhabitants there. And I was watching this video and I couldn't believe, Donnie, this place, it's called Uimakon or Yamokin or something like that. It's in Siberia. It's the coldest place on earth. As far as an average temperature, Donnie, on a regular day in winter, minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit. And they did all these different things where like they it was like a 3-hour trip through like wilderness to get there. It's 21 hours dark a day, and this guy gets out of the van that they're in, and he literally like his eyebrows started freezing. Like
Yep.
you throw water in the air, it just freezes like on
Freezes
contact.
immediately. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. And they started interviewing people that like lived in this area, and they loved it. They were they're obviously you can't have any water there because everything would freeze. You have to, but then they were talking about Donnie how like in the middle of the night if you have to go to the bathroom, you literally have to run outside into the outhouse that they have. I mean, could you imagine living in conditions like that? It's amazing how they live and how people in this world live still. It's quite
Yeah,
fascinating.
extreme cold is not a fun thing to do, but I've always liked, Alaska. I would love to visit Alaska, see some icebergs, but more so the fishing aspect of it in the summer. I always like that type of culture, but no, I'm not. I'm not in the minus 50s and 60s where you can't even go outside or do anything. No. Mm-mm.
The coldest temperature ever in the town was minus 88 Fahrenheit. That's
I don't even
amazing, man.
measure it. Like, how can you even measure? Doesn't like the instrument just break when it's trying to measure that low?
I'm not sure. I guess they have like special machines and stuff that do it, but yeah, the people there are crazy. Like they went with this one guy to like this frozen lake to like fish, and
Hmm.
this dude's literally like without gloves, like reaching into the water and like pulling fish out, literally in like 60-degree below zero weather. Like, how do these
Hmm.
fucking like these people are so submitted to the cold? It's kind of amazing. But yeah, there's your world trip with me today as we head into Siberia. Quite interesting. Donnie, we'll be back at 3 o'clock on WCKG, 2 p.m. Central, which will be fun. How do they live with no water source? They actually, Donnie, burn large ice things like
Yeah.
that they use
Yeah.
for drinking water.
Just go out and
Um,
get some. Go out and dig a hole with some snow and just put it in a pot and boil it up in the house.
yeah, that's exactly what they do. Um, we'll be back on the radio at 3. Join us there. iHeartRadio, you can download the app, whatever you want. Is the easiest way to listen. We'll talk about some college football, keep it moving with some MLB playoffs, and kind of look towards next week as far as the new games this week. Yeah, Donnie, you look at the card, a lot of good Friday night games again in college football. We obviously have some new series beginning in baseball, but you look at that slate on Friday: South Florida, Tulsa, Arizona, Utah, little Air Force, San Diego State. So definitely some decent matchups over the
Yeah.
week here. But yeah, as far as tonight's game, I think Donnie and I are both leaning on Mountaineers here in this
Yeah.
game. We'll see
Yeah.
how the line moves as we get closer to kickoff. Everyone have a great day. We thank you for checking into the show today. Make sure you hit the like button and support all the shows here. We will see you tomorrow here, Wednesday, for the roundtable. Drew Martin, me, Donnie, and Ian Cameron join us for that. Great day.